years are very important to us. Please hold on, and our program will begin shortly. The Soundcheck Podcast is coming up. Please continue to hold. Keep up with the Soundcheck Podcast and everything that's happening in the New Sounds empire. Just go to newsounds.org and follow us on social media. All of the icons are in the top right corner of the page.
No, you've got other girls for that. No, I'm just here to play. And it ain't like you paid.
From newsounds.org and the studios of WNYC, this is the Soundcheck Podcast, our series of live in-studio performances. Streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, I'm John Schaefer. Lillie Mae is a singer and multi-instrumentalist. She's based in Nashville, and she has one of those kind of honeyed vocals that just screams country music. But if you listen, country is just one part of a big, colorful mix on her record. You get a chance to hear the echoes of 60s pop and psychedelic rock and traditional folk music as well. Her brand new album is called Other Girls, and it brings Lillie Mae and her band here to our studio. And they're going to start us off with a song called I Came for the Band.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's so awesome to be here. Thank you. Appreciate it a whole lot. 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't come to take you home. I didn't come to be alone. I didn't come today at all. I came here for the show. I didn't come to make the scene. I didn't come here for a ride. I didn't come to change my mind. Or come here to try. And it's too late to smile. You've already shown me you. I didn't come to watch the clock. Didn't come so you could talk. I didn't come so you could sing. I came here for me. I didn't come here for a while. I didn't come to burn some leaves. I didn't come here not to dance. I came for the band. And it's too late to smile. You've
That is Lillie Mae with I Came for the Band, which is a track from her brand new album called Other Girls, which officially comes out tomorrow, right?
It does. It sure does. Woo!
Lillie Mae, great to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much.
You've got the guitar in hand. You also play the fiddle.
I do.
And, of course, the band here, I might as well introduce the members of the band because, at least in part, it's a family group. Got a couple of siblings.
A couple of us.
Yeah. Scarlett Rishi playing the mandolin and helping out on backing vocals, and Frank Rishi playing the electric guitar and some backing vocals. And then the musical family also includes your bass player, Brian Zahn, and Misa Arriaga, who is behind our drum kit here in the New Sound studio on this edition of the Soundcheck Podcast. So you have kind of a fascinating background. You and obviously Frank and Scarlett all growing up in a family band, right?
Yes, sir.
And you basically grew up on the road, is that right?
We did. My brother Frank, actually, he was born in a motorhome on the way to a gig, so we did really get started that way. And
so how did it work? Were you assigned instruments as kids so that you would have a full lineup of...
Correct.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
We didn't have a choice. So I've started on fiddle. I was,
And what kind of music did you play?
A lot of gospel, bluegrass and gospel. We started out doing that. Mm-hmm. Also, actually, our first shows ever were we did German sets, so we sang in German.
Wow.
So really, I guess that's cooler than the other stuff.
So like old German folk songs and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Wow.
They weren't religious songs. Imagine that.
So when you're surrounded by that kind of music, how plugged in were you all to what was happening in pop music at the time?
Not at all. We weren't plugged in at all.
Is that even possible? I mean, I guess if you're living in motorhomes.
It's very possible. Yeah, we didn't have TV or, computers, nothing like that. We were very, very outdated.
Just to be clear here, we're talking about the
worldly,
the 1990s, the early aughts. I mean, we're not talking about the 1930s here.
We may as well have been. Yeah, we're a couple of us are still a little backwards,
Uh-huh.
with the modern technology,
So, how does schooling work when you're on the road that often?
We grew up. We were all homeschooled. We were homeschooled, but we were we were basically no schooled. We didn't get much of a proper education, honestly.
So you grew up feral, basically, is what you're saying.
Well, what's that mean?
Yeah. Thank you, Misa. Nice to have a drummer when you need one.
Yeah.
So when you did discover pop music, what was it? Was it hip hop, the current stuff? Was it Beatles, etc.?
Yeah,
Scarlett?
It was Beatles, Beach Boys. That was in the
baby,
probably
safari.
around the early 2000, late 90s. That's when we discovered.
Let's go surfing
the
now.
Beatles and the
Everybody's
Beach Boys.
learning how. Come on, it's a safari with me.
So was this just kind of an head exploding moment? It's where has this been all my life?
Sure, I think everyone was extremely influenced by it. I think it was just so cool because the music is so amazing that those influences, that musicianship and those harmonies and everything was very impactful.
Well, for all that it seems weird to grow up in contemporary America without hearing a whole lot of contemporary American music, the fact is it stood you all in great stead. I mean, Lillie Mae, I first saw you on that TV special called, is it Another Day, Another Country? It's the one that was
the Llewellyn Davis thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
And yeah, I know what you're talking. I don't. Another day, another time. I think, or something.
Another
like that.
another time. Yes. Which was this amazing documentary when the film Inside Llewyn Davis came out. And I think it was Town Hall, and it was Jack White, and you're with Jack White, and Patti Smith is there, and Chris Thiele, and
Joan Baez was there.
Joan Baez.
The
and
hallways were lined. It was unreal.
Yeah.
John Goodman was was one of the MCs. It was amazing.
So so that kind of deep rootedness, that seems to be natural for you and for the family. So when it came time to start writing your own stuff, how long was it before you actually kind of discovered your own voice?
I mean, personally, I started like finishing songs. I think I was like 14 or something, you know, and I think I've kind of always just had a similar style of writing. Me personally, I think, I tried to write stuff before that, but nothing ever like clicked.
Yeah.
But Frank, he used to write a whole lot. You know, he was churning out some chart-topping hits when he was about 11. You know, yeah, I'm just kidding, but he did write. Like Frank, I think, some of those things like that came naturally.
Yeah, and for you, you had to work a little longer at it.
I wouldn't call it work. I don't think I ever worked at songwriting.
Yeah. All right.
I tried to co-write a good handful of times, but.
Yeah. Well, now, the new record, Other Girls, seems to be maybe a step beyond the last record, Forever and Then Some, which Jack White produced. Did you have more of a hand in kind of the final sound of this record this time around?
Opposite.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, not that I didn't have a hand in it, sure. But the last record, the Forever and Then Some, I mean, that was, I had a lot of creative freedom in that, loads. And we got to record like a bunch, and the time allotment was much larger, and we recorded tons of stuff in that. It was a lot more experimental. The new album was like, it was a lot, shorter time block, and obviously a different studio, different producer. Of course, it's going to be different, but we definitely both, mutually agreed upon songs and etc.
Right. It's interesting to hear you use the word experimental to describe the last record, because there are parts of this record that I think of as kind of really pushing boundaries. You know, the final song, the name of which is it Love Dilly Love?
Yes, sir.
And like the end of Terlingua Girl. I mean, there are moments where all hell is breaking loose, it sounds like, in the studio. And it seems like, you really were kind of pushing against the usual box that we put a singer with your kind of sound in.
Well, I think like Love Dilly Love, like for instance, that ending, like Scarlett and I had come up with that before we went in the studio. Like we practiced that, like whatever.
I feel like your new record is more experimental than the first one musically, but as far as like, I mean, the first one we had more time to like play around with different ideas, but this one, a lot of the ideas were in place when we went in, but I think is more experimental. Like,
right.
Yeah.
I guess we record the first album, as far as like experimental here in quotations, we recorded like 27 songs.
Right.
So there's a lot of wacky tunes that didn't make the record that we can't even find now. I don't know what happened to them.
But it seems like Jack White has a knack for unearthing all of these things in the fullness of time. It's, he's constantly churning out stuff from someone's basement. So I'm sure that stuff is there somewhere.
Right.
So now you've been touring with the Raconteurs.
We opened for them for about 2 weeks.
Yeah. And then later this year you'll be opening for and playing with Robert Plant. Is that right?
That's right. I'll be filling in for his normal fiddle player who had... I believe he had some dates that he had already had booked before they booked this leg of tour. So he went ahead and needed to fulfill those.
Right. So you'll be the fiddler in the Sensational Shapeshifter
That's
band.
right.
Very
Hell
nice.
yeah.
So how nerve-wracking is that? There's a whole other songbook to learn by the fall, right?
He doesn't have fiddle or violin, whatever. He doesn't have it on every song. So there's it's about 60% of his show, maybe 70%, I think, of his live set. So it's not a crazy amount of stuff. And I played one gig with him last October, last September, a year ago.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny because this year rehearsal starts on the same day the show was a year ago. So a year ago, Misa and I drove down from Nashville, and we drove to St. Louis, and I played that one gig. So I will be. I'll be very nervous. I know I will be. And I was nervous enough to get my act together, and I didn't smoke any herbs or anything of like that kind for a few days prior to that first gig. So I think I'll be a little more comfortable with the material around this time.
All right.
We'll see.
Well, that's something to look forward to as
So
well.
yeah, I was nervous for sure.
We're speaking with Lillie Mae. Her brand new album is called Other Girls. You want to play another song for us?
Yes.
This
I'll
one's...
have to tune this for half a blink of a second because the air conditioning's knocked it out just a hair.
Now, you are in standard tuning. It's not like you're a John Fahey style guitarist where every song requires a complete retuning of the instrument.
Right. I'll have to look him up.
Oh, great folk guitarist who, would play in like open G on one song and then, Dadgad on another song. I'm getting lost in the weeds here. These are all alternative tunings for folk guitarists.
Cool.
But no need to worry about that now because Lillie Mae is all tuned up and ready to go. Let's hear a song called Howl.
Thank you.
The song is called Howl from Lillie Mae and her band live here in the studio. The album is called Other Girls. Lillie Mae and the band are heading back over to Brooklyn right after this, playing tonight at Baby's All Right. Doors at 9:30, show at 10. You can catch them there. How having written these songs and recorded them in the studio and having had this kind of experimental cast on some of them, when you play them live and you don't have access to all the studio stuff, does the kind of underlying folkness of the song come out more?
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I think, I mean, as far as like sounds and stuff go, like I really know a lot less about all that stuff than just about, anything. Or I don't know, like, or pedals, stuff like that. I don't ever use anything like that. I never have. I'm not saying I won't or wouldn't. I just hadn't got there yet. But, as far as like, if it was up to me or up to, anyone, I think, to have free 8 or 9 people here,
Yeah.
like, a couple of acoustics, a tenor, because we did a lot of,
Did you
high
use a tenor?
strung on a lot of that tune. So like, in tracking we had 2 or 3. Dave Cobb played a lot of the tenor stuff on a little.
He produced the record, right?
He did, and he played on almost everything though. Because we tracked everything live in a circle. So so we'd all be sitting in a circle except for the drums.
Right. And the tenor guitar is what's how you say, it's a higher strung instrument. So
right.
It has
it has that cool, it's got that cool sound, and I really, that's something that's always missed. And if we had, something such as unlimited funds, whatever that is, like maybe, we could have a couple extra things that would, that would love to do that, but it's just, that's not a reality.
So there's a song on the album. It's called A Golden Year, and it has that kind of psychedelia effect. But it struck me that underneath that, if you just played it acoustically, it would probably sound like a pretty old folk song. And maybe that's what
cool.
it sounded. Is that what it sounded like when you first wrote it?
Well, when I first wrote it, I wrote that song at a place called The Refuge. It's in Appleton, Wisconsin, and it's an old monastery, and it's Corey Chisel and Adriel Dene's place, and with some other people. They've got there's a bunch of people involved, but it's an artist refuge, and anyone, you can go and live there. It's they have grants, government grants, and they have a gigantic, it's a monastery, so the kitchen is just like huge. So they have this huge kitchen. There's all food is provided. There's all, you can literally go and live for free. These artists and painters.
It's
and
like an artist colony.
Photography, and like, it's incredible. You can go live indefinitely for free at this amazing place on the water. Anyway, they put on a lot of shows throughout the year. They do all kinds of stuff in the Million Mile, I think it's called. But there's
And that's where you wrote this.
Yeah, so we play up there. We've done a handful of shows for them up there, and they have a chapel. It's a beautiful little chapel, and they have a recording studio in the chapel. Erin Ray did her last record in the chapel. Like, it's a beautiful. It sounds really awesome in there. But we were leaving, and the van was loaded and everything, and I just went back in to do a check. Frank was the last one inside, and his guitar case was in the hallway. And anyway, I heard the song. It came to me from the chapel, and I just heard all these angels singing, singing while they were saying ah ah ah. And then when we recorded it, it was la 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 la. Anyway, so that was that was just kind of our
Yeah. And what is a golden year?
I wrote that the day before my birthday, and so my birthday is the 26th. So I was 26. About to turn 27 the next day, so my golden year would have been 26. So it was a golden year comes to an end.
Okay.
So I was turning 27, so it was a year ago this year.
So the golden year is the date of the month that corresponds to the age that you are.
Yeah. So Frank's, he would have been 3 on his golden year. Misa would have been 2. Scarlett was also 26.
Yeah, I've heard it called Golden Birthday many times, but I think the Golden Year might be your idea.
Oh, maybe that's it. Golden Birthday. Oh, maybe I wrote it wrong.
I think the Golden Year is your
I guess I screwed up.
That's your idea.
It's just the whole year there. It's the whole year.
Right.
It's your song. It's you intended whatever you intended,
Right.
So this is this idea of like the place being really important to the process is a really interesting one. The chapel in
it was just
artist retreat, and
It was wild.
Yeah.
It just hit me like a freight train, and I just like had to just write it out and just sit down. I just sat down in the hallway and just wrote it.
But you were also part of the band, so to speak, in this documentary called the American Epic Sessions, which is about this studio where they rebuilt the first electric recording studio from like 1925.
Yeah, the guy Nick, he was collecting the pieces of this machine his whole life, I think.
Yeah.
For 20 years or something. It's pretty amazing.
And so, I mean, stepping into a room like that, which may not be the most beautiful room, but still
it was
that
beautiful.
kind of history.
It was amazing. It was such a special time.
Yeah.
Getting to be a part of that. It was absolutely unbelievable. One of the coolest things I'll ever. It's amazing that I got to be there.
So
that was incredible.
And you do feel it. You feel the kind of the weight of history when you're in the.
Well, sure, but I mean, also there were so many legends around. And I was in the house band for that. There were a lot of musicians that did multiple things that were present for that for most of that recording. I didn't play on everything, but like Taj Mahal or like some unbelievable artists. There's a woman, I can't remember her name at the moment, like a Spanish singer, like unbelievable, just like chill bumps, like just like crying, just like watching this lady like sing. Is unbelievable. Like so many amazing artists did that, and Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard did something together. Merle Haggard played my fiddle on that. He asked me if he could. I said, can I play that on a song? And I was like, of course you can. Here you go. I'm sorry, it's not better. So I was just sitting in a corner of that studio, sitting on the ground, just watching Merle and Willie work up these songs they hadn't sang in 30, 40 years, Lord knows how long. And so I was just like, I was a mess. I was just like bawling the whole time, just like watching these heroes, just like,
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
And recording on, as I say, the first electric recording studio in the world. So like a transformational moment in music history being recreated by all of you musicians sitting in a room.
It was so special. But, really kudos to Nick, the man who put it together, because that wouldn't have existed if he didn't have some, a crazy idea and wasn't able to track down all the pieces of this machine and spend time and years putting it back together. And it was amazing.
Such a great thing when someone's obsession turns out to be
so
really
amazing.
Important and awesome.
The people that he was able to get involved in that, and T-Bone Burnett, and I mean even Robert Redford was was one of the people involved in that. Like so many people. It was just like incredible. Anyone who hasn't seen that or heard that or checked it out, it's worth checking out. PBS did a documentary series on that, and BBC.
Right.
It's
called
special.
The American Epic Sessions, and Lillie Mae, as I said, is part of the house band. But here in the studio today leading her own band, because the new album is full of great songs. It's called Other Girls. I have to say, men don't come off so well in some of these songs. I mean, in the more or less title track, you got Other Girls for that, and a song like At Least Three in This Room. I mean,
Oh man, I anyone who knows me knows that like I'm the biggest supporter of dudes. I'm like most, I always have been. I'm like I love guys. I've always played in lots of bands with lots of dudes, and I'm not a man hater whatsoever.
Yeah, it's just funny the way the kind of gimlet eye that you cast at us men in some of these songs.
No, it's not us. There's no us about it. That was just one person. That was just for one. That was just for somebody.
Okay. All right.
No man haters here.
This next song, on the album at least, is one of the ones that really has this kind of 60s pop sheen to it. So I'm eager to hear how this is going to sound, with just the five of you here in the studio. You want to play Crisp and Cold for us?
Sure thing.
All right.
It's crisp and cold in here a little bit.
Lillie Mae is my guest on this edition of the Soundcheck Podcast. Here's the song called Crisp and Cold.
In your eyes, rendezvous is in a bind. Wonder can be fine. Green says go, the moon dies. The sun is on the rise. Orange and bright, and night is laid to rest. Oh, out of sight and out of mind as well. Hear the same. How badly could you tell? You said no, but I don't hear. And love is all I feel. What is love, and why can't it be real? Woo! Oh, don't you think it's time? Can't you tell it heals? Read the signs, much could be revealed. Crisp and cold as a lie. And don't be scared to be more.
Cool. Crisp and Cold from Lillie Mae and her band live here in the studio before they head on over to Baby's All Right for tonight's concert. Lillie Mae, did I hear correctly that you're going to be making your Grand Ole Opry debut?
Yes. Saturday. Yes, sir.
And, this, I mean, you're based in Nashville. This is like an iconic part of the scene there.
It really is. I've always been a huge fan of the Opry. I've always loved it, and any chance I've ever got to go and just observe and or sit side stage and watch everyone I've always loved it. Our family band played it 10 years ago, maybe a little more.
Uh-huh.
So I've played it before, but I've never played it, solo
right.
or in this project. I've also got to perform on the Opry singing harmony with my brother Frank. We got to perform with Jim Lauderdale.
Oh, great.
Also, Jim brought me out there a couple months ago, not long ago, and so it's a huge deal. It's a very big deal for me, and being such a lover of the Opry for so long, and it's pretty amazing. It'll be awesome.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Grand Ole Opry debut and release of the new album, like hard on the heels of each other. It's
Man, it just came in. It just came in the other day. It was like, holy crap, awesome. Yeah.
All right. And then the fall, touring with Robert Plant and his band, and times are good.
They sure are.
Is the family band still? Family band is now, I guess, in the rearview mirror at this point.
No, the family band still holds a place in time. No, the Rishis is the family band currently. Like, we had a million different names through the years, but I think the family band will probably always be here as long as we still have fingers and tongues.
And you still sing those German songs on occasion?
No, but we should. We ought to learn them again.
Yeah. All right. Lillie Mae, it's been...
Whatever. Drinking. Something. I don't know.
That was Frank's song.
Oh, that was Frank's. I don't know.
Can you at least sing Lily Marlene? Or?
Nope.
No? Okay.
Nope, not yet. Maybe next time if we get to see you again.
All right. Lillie Mae, it's been great having you in the band here playing for us today. Congratulations on everything that's happened, and looking forward to seeing you in the fall.
Thank you. That's so nice of you, and it's so awesome to be here. Appreciate it.
This is Soundcheck.